What's she listening to?
The Young God Podcast.
I find it incredibly fascinating that when we look at the back end of Spotify and Apple and our audio channels, the majority of people that listen to this podcast haven't yet hit the follow button or the subscribe button. Wherever you're listening to this, I would like to make a deal with you. If you could do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button, I will work tirelessly from now until forever to make the show better and better and better and better. I can't tell you how much it helps when you hit that subscribe button. The show gets bigger, which means we can expand the production, explore more ideas and topics while continuing to do this thing we love. If you could do me that small favor and hit the follow button wherever you're listening to this, if you could follow the podcast on Instagram at The Young God Pod and Twitter at I Am The Young God, that would mean the world to me. That is the only favor I'll ever ask you. Thank you so much for your time. Let's start the show. Hey God Gang, welcome. This is a very special episode, a very different episode. This episode was not in the plans, but man, it is worth the listen. Here's the story. The French Institut in Abuja challenged me. And by challenged, I mean commissioned, hired. They hired me to create a podcast listening experience around the theme of the body, the human body. The task was to explore how the body features in literary texts, that is, to explore what different authors and schools of thought have to say about the body within the unique context of the young God. Now, what is this unique context of the young God? Basically, the young God is a curation of stories, original ideas, and conversations that lead to an elevated life experience. It's about living, loving, and thinking in such a way that your life experiences become elite, dynamic, meaningful, and sustainable. The thing is, I've focused a lot on the psychological, emotional, and spiritual aspects of this, but never really the body specifically. So the challenge for me was to think of how I can present to the audience this elevated life experience, but from the angle of the body. I went straight to my favorite books and favorite authors to hear what they had to say about the body. I tackled this theme of the heightened body experience through 4 branches: grace, posture, beauty, and seduction. The Institute asked me to read excerpts from my selected books and present it in the unique style of the young God. It isn't just books though. The playlist also features snippets from a soon-to-be-released episode which coincidentally has to do with the body, in a way. This project is unique because usually my listening events are strictly a curation of already released episodes. But for this one, I had to create all of the audio from scratch over a 15-day period. What you're about to hear is the final creation for the event, which was played and performed at the French Institut via Bluetooth headphones, which has now become my signature, by the way. This happened on the 18th of January, 2024. My name is Rodney Amokache, and you are welcome to The Young God, a podcast for gods.
Yeah. Stand back, gotta talk. Watch cost.
How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci by Michael J. Gelb, Chapter 6, Corporalita. Corporalita, the cultivation of grace, ambidexterity, fitness, and poise. As a Renaissance man, Da Vinci's life was an expression of the ancient classical ideal of mens sana in corpore sano, a sound mind in a sound body. He maintained a balanced fitness program that developed his aerobic capacity, strength, and flexibility. Leonardo was renowned for his effortless, upright poise and grace. The citizens of Florence turned out in numbers just to watch him walk down the street. A historian once wrote about the maestro's more than infinite grace in every action. quote unquote. It is almost impossible to imagine Leonardo da Vinci slumping and slouching around. In the path of self-development, people commonly contemplate the classic question, who am I? You can make significant progress in self-realization by asking an even more basic question, where am I? Body image and body awareness play a tremendous role in determining self-image and self-awareness. We each have 5 senses: sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. What if I told you that there is a 6th sense, kinesthesia, which is defined as an awareness of the position and movement of the parts of the body by means of sensory organs in the muscles and joints? Cultivation of body awareness begins with honing this 6th sense. The kinesthetic sense is your sense of weight, position, and movement. It tells you whether you are relaxed or tense, awkward or graceful. Studies show that our potential for consciousness and intelligence is intimately linked to the evolution of our fully upright stature. Yet the pressures of our lives, sitting in chairs, working at the computer, driving through rush hour, lead us to lose touch with this aspect of our birthright. For most of us, poise must be relearned. A mindful body moves with grace, continuity, and wholeness, embodying smooth transitions in everyday movements such as sitting to standing or standing into walking. Little children are naturally poised. They move with amazing grace and coordination. What happens to this poise as they get older? Well, most kids are fine through 1st grade. Look back at your own 1st grade photo and you will see that most of the children are beautifully upright. But look at the postures of 3rd and 4th graders. You'll witness the beginnings of slumps, contortions, and tensions of all kinds. And for many kids, the teenage years are a permanent mega slump. Now go to a mall or a church or any place you can observe families. Watch parents and children walking together, and you will see striking similarities in their habits and quirks of posture and movement. Although we can't protect our kids from all of life's slump-inducing burdens and contortion-inspiring tensions, we can aim to provide a positive model of poise by embodying it ourselves. The state of your body influences your mind. If your body is stiff and rigid or collapsed and limp, your mind will often follow suit. The English language is full of phrases that demonstrate an understanding of this relationship, such as, she won't change her position on this issue. They've taken an aggressive stance on this point. And from the Bible, they stiffened their necks so they would not hear the word of the Lord. The word corporation comes from the root corpus, meaning body. Most corporate bodies are overly stiff and dominated by unconscious habit. In many meetings and brainstorming sessions, for example, people sit around for hours in more or less the same position, trying to generate new ideas and solve problems. And then they wonder, why are we stuck? Another important aspect of corporalita for Da Vinci was ambidexterity. Though a natural left-hander, Leonardo taught himself to use his right hand. He became so proficient that he regularly switched hands when he was working on the Last Supper and other masterpieces. His rival, Michelangelo, was naturally gifted with ambidexterity, and it is recorded that when he was working on the Sistine Chapel, he astounded observers by switching his paintbrush from one hand to the other as he worked. The wisdom behind learned ambidexterity can be summed up in the following adage: balance the body, balance the brain. Thinkers, artists, and craftsmen of old believed that the future of human potential lies with the ambidextrous human. Even the science supports this. The right hemisphere of the cerebral cortex controls the left side of the body, and the left hemisphere controls the right side of the body. Studies show that coordinating the two sides of the body would promote the coherence and balance of the two hemispheres, which would lead to a better quality of life for the individual as well as higher quality creations. Now, my question for you, dear listener: what is your personal approach to cultivating fitness and developing mind-body coordination? What is your image of your own body? How much are you influenced by external factors such as magazines, articles, the fashion industry, images on television, other people's opinions in determining your own body image? What do you think about your mind-body connection? Whatever your God-given strengths or weaknesses, you can dramatically improve the quality of your life through a comprehensive approach to corporalita. "12 Rules for Life: An Antidote to Chaos" by Jordan Peterson. Chapter 1. Stand up straight with your shoulders back. Attend carefully to your posture. Quit drooping and hunching around. Speak your mind. Put your desires forward as if you had a right to them, at least the same rights as others. Walk tall and gaze forthrightly ahead. Dare to be dangerous. Encourage the serotonin to flow plentifully through the neural pathways desperate for its calming influence. People, including yourself, will start to assume that you're competent and able, or at least they will not immediately conclude the reverse. Doing so will not only increase the probability that good things will happen to you, it will also make those good things feel better when they do happen. To stand up straight with your shoulders back is to accept the terrible responsibility of life with eyes wide open. It means deciding to voluntarily transform the chaos of potential into the realities of habitable order. It means adopting the burden of self-conscious vulnerability and accepting the end of the unconscious paradise of childhood, where finitude and mortality are only dimly comprehended. It means willingly undertaking the sacrifices necessary to generate a productive and meaningful reality. It means acting to please God in the ancient language. Beauty and the BS, a soon-to-be-released episode of The Young God. The Beauty and the BS, a play on Beauty and the Beast, obviously. And it's interesting because the movie and the title make it seem like Beauty and the Beast are opposites. But if you think about it, beauty itself is the beast. Physical beauty in particular, skin-deep beauty. It is a beast to the wielder in terms of how they live and die by the compliments, the attention, and the insecurity that comes with that. It's also a beast to the beholder who can't see beyond the physical, who makes judgments of people based on what they look like. We are all victims of this beast. When you think of the forces that move the needle in the world, power, money, fame, love, sex, to name a few, beauty in all its forms is right up there. God made it so that beauty has the capacity to electrify us like nothing can. Whether it's a work of art or a person, whatever, when we encounter a beautiful thing, it touches something deep within us. Depending on the situation, it may excite the ego or serenade the soul. Only beauty. It's fascinating. I think God made us sensitive to physical beauty as a trap, a weakness to be overcome on our journey to being the best version of ourselves. Because it serves no other purpose. Apart from being nice to look at, physical beauty does nothing but get us into trouble. Emotions like envy, jealousy, infatuation, self-obsession, and arrogance are most easily sparked by even just a glimmer of beauty. People spend their hard-earned money to acquire beauty in the form of women, art, luxury, and cosmetic surgery. Physical beauty is the root of racism, classism, sexism, colorism, and other isms we suffer as a society. So when you start to think about it, you'll realize that there's a hyper-fixation on physical beauty in the world today. Disney may have conditioned us to think that beauty is opposite to the beast, but I'm here to tell you that the real beast is beauty, specifically the physical kind. The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene. The Introduction. Thousands of years ago, power was mostly gained through physical violence and maintained with brute strength. There was little need for subtlety. A king or emperor had to be merciless. Only a select few had power, but no one suffered under this scheme of things more than women. They had no way to compete, no weapon at their disposal that could make a man do what they wanted, politically, socially, or even in the home. Of course, men had one weakness: their insatiable desire for sex. A woman could always toy with this desire, but once she gave in to sex, the man was back in control. And if she withheld sex, he could simply look elsewhere or exert force. What good was a power that was so temporary and frail? Yet women had no choice but to submit to this condition. There were some, though, whose hunger for power was too great and who, over the years, through much cleverness and creativity, invented a way of turning the dynamic around, creating a more lasting and effective form of power. These women, among them Bathsheba from the Old Testament, Helen of Troy, the Chinese siren Zixi, and the greatest of them all, Cleopatra, invented seduction. First, they would draw a man in with an alluring appearance, designing their makeup and adornments to fashion the image of a goddess come to life. By showing only glimpses of flesh, they would tease a man's imagination, stimulating the desire not just for sex, but for something greater: the chance to possess a fantasy figure. Once they had their victim's interest, these women would lure them away from the masculine world of war and politics and get them to spend time in the feminine world, a world of luxury, spectacle, and pleasure. They might also lead them astray, literally, taking them on a journey, as Cleopatra lured Julius Caesar on a trip down the Nile. Men would grow hooked on these refined, sensual pleasures. They would fall in love. But then, invariably, the women would turn cold and indifferent, confusing their victims. Just when the men wanted more, they found their pleasures withdrawn. They would be forced into pursuit, trying anything to win back the favors they once had tasted, growing weak and emotional in the process. Men who had physical force and all the social power, men like King David, the Trojan Paris, Julius Caesar, Mark Antony, King Fuchai, would find themselves becoming the slave of a mere woman. In the face of violence and brutality, these women made seduction a sophisticated art, the ultimate form of power and persuasion. They learned to work on the mind first, stimulating fantasies, keeping a man wanting more, creating patterns of hope and despair, the essence of seduction. Their power was not physical, but psychological, not forceful, but indirect and cunning. These first great seductresses were like military generals, planning the destruction of an enemy. And indeed, early accounts of seduction often compared it to battle, the feminine version of warfare. For Cleopatra, it was a means of consolidating an empire. In seduction, the woman was no longer a passive sex object. She had become an active agent, a figure of power. With a few exceptions, men did not much concern themselves with such a frivolous art as seduction. Then, in the 17th century, came a great change. Men grew interested in seduction as a way to overcome a young woman's resistance to sex. History's first great male seducers began to adopt the methods traditionally employed by women. They learned to dazzle with their appearance, to stimulate the imagination, to play the coquette. They also added a new masculine element to the game: seductive language, for they had discovered a woman's weakness for soft words. These two forms of seduction, the feminine use of appearances and the masculine use of language, would often cross gender lines, giving birth to new experiences and heightened feelings. Let's take a moment to pause and breathe. Relieve the tension. Whatever you're doing, close your eyes, take a deep breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. One more time. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Let's resume. In the Old Testament, we read that David arose from his couch and was walking upon the roof of the king's house. And he saw from the roof a woman bathing, and the woman was very beautiful. The woman was Bathsheba. David summoned her, seduced her, supposedly, then proceeded to get rid of her husband Uriah in battle. In fact, however, it was Bathsheba who had seduced David. She bathed on that roof at an hour when she knew he would be standing on his balcony. After tempting a man she knew had a weakness for women, she played the coquette, forcing him to come after her. Bathsheba used her entire body as a lure, but it is often more effective to use only a part of the body, creating a fetish-like effect. This is the opportunity strategy. Give someone weak the chance to have what they lust after by merely placing yourself within their reach, as if by accident. Give the target only a part of you to fantasize about, thereby creating a constant temptation in their mind. Greek Myths by Robert Graves. The Judgment of Paris. Zeus, the sky and thunder god, the king of the gods, held a banquet in celebration of the marriage of Peleus and Thetis, parents of Achilles. However, Eris, goddess of discord, was not invited, for it was believed she would have made the party unpleasant for everyone. Angered by this snub, Eris arrived at the celebration with a golden apple from the garden of the Hesperides, with the inscription, "To the fairest one," which she threw into the wedding. 3 goddesses claimed the apple: Hera, the goddess of marriage, women, and family, and the protector of women during childbirth; Athena, the goddess of war, wisdom, and craftsmanship; Aphrodite, the goddess of love, lust, beauty, pleasure, passion, and procreation. They asked Zeus to judge which of them was the fairest, but Zeus knew better than to get involved in the affairs of females. Thus, he declared that Paris, a mortal from Troy, should be the judge, for he had recently shown his exemplary fairness in a previous contest with the god of war, Ares. Hermes, the messenger of the gods, guided the 3 goddesses to meet Paris, where he was herding his cattle on Mount Gargarus, the highest peak of Ida. Upon arrival, Hermes delivered the golden apple and Zeus's message: "Paris, since you are as handsome as you are wise in affairs of the heart, Zeus commands you to judge which of these goddesses is the fairest."
"So be it,"
sighed Paris.
"But first, I beg the losers not to be vexed with me. I'm only a human being, liable to make the stupidest mistakes."
The goddesses all agreed to abide by his decision.
"Will it be enough to judge them as they are?
Paris asked Hermes.
Or should they be naked?"
"The rules of the contest are for you to decide," Hermes answered with a discreet smile.
"In that case, will they kindly disrobe?"
Hermes told the goddesses to do so and politely turned his back. Aphrodite was soon ready, but Athena insisted that she should remove the famous magic girdle, which gave her an unfair advantage by making everyone fall in love with the wearer.
"I will,"
said Aphrodite spitefully,
"on condition that you remove your helmet. You look hideous without it." "Now, if you please, I must judge you one at a time,"
announced Paris.
"Come here, divine Hera. Will you other 2 goddesses be good enough to leave us for a while?"
"Examine me conscientiously," said Hera, turning slowly around and displaying her magnificent figure. "And remember that if you judge me the fairest, I will make you lord of all Asia and the richest man alive."
"I am not to be bribed, my lady." "Very well, thank you. Now I have seen all that I need to see. Come, divine Athena."
"Here I am," said Athena, striding purposefully forward. "Listen, Paris. If you have enough common sense to award me the prize, I will make you victorious in all your battles, as well as the handsomest and wisest man in the world."
"I am a humble herdsman, not a soldier,"
said Paris.
"but I promise to fairly consider your claim to the apple. Now, you are at liberty to put on your clothes and helmet again. I have seen enough. Is Aphrodite ready?"
Aphrodite sidled up to him, and Paris blushed because she came so close that they were almost touching.
Look carefully, please. Pass nothing over. By the way, as soon as I saw you, I said to myself, upon my word, there goes the handsomest young man in Phrygia. Why does he waste himself here in the wilderness, herding stupid cattle? Well, why do you, Paris? Why not move into a city and lead a civilized life? What have you to lose by marrying someone like Helen of Sparta, who is as beautiful as I am and no less passionate? I suggest that you tour Greece with my son, Eros, as your guide. Once you reach Sparta, he and I will see that Helen falls head over heels in love with you.
Would you swear to that?
Paris asked excitedly. Aphrodite uttered a solemn oath, and Paris, without a second thought, awarded her the golden apple. After Paris acquired Helen and took her to Troy, the Greeks invaded Troy for Helen's return. This was the cause of the Trojan War. Figuratively, the phrase, the judgment of Paris, has come to mean the ultimate origin of a war or other event. Beauty and the BS, a soon-to-be-released episode of The Young God. Of all the milestone moments in a woman's life, menstruation, puberty, pregnancy, none is more underrated, more under-discussed than the moment a young girl becomes aware of her beauty. It is what I call a forbidden fruit moment. The moment a young girl realizes she's beautiful, everything changes. Her eyes open. She becomes enamored with herself and the attention she attracts, the compliments she gets, the male gaze, the perks and the privileges. And the world around her encourages this fixation, making sure she never forgets how beautiful she is, until her entire adult life is built around maintaining and comparing beauty at all costs. It's a lifetime of misplaced priorities, if you ask me. It's one of the reasons why women never stood a chance in the battle of the sexes. Physical beauty is one hell of a distraction. In the Knowledge of Power is Power episode, I said, it is by design that women are endlessly fascinated by beauty and makeup, but are clueless about the actual power of beauty and makeup. Think about it. As I said, of all the milestone moments in a woman's life, none is more critical than the moment she becomes aware of her beauty. Quote me. That theory didn't come from nowhere. I have a baby sister. Her name is Kosi. I'm the eldest. She's the last. 14 years between us. Kosi is a beautiful babe. Her beauty shames the angels. Since the day she was born, it's been the thing that everyone pointed out. And sure enough, she became conscious of her beauty. And Kosi, being a child of the Instagram era, loves to take photos. And since I'm a photographer, one of the ways she and I bonded was through photo shoots. One day, while on holiday, she and I went out together. The lighting was immaculate where we were, perfect for a photo session. I asked her to pose for me. She immediately knew what time it was. Kosi understood the assignment, born ready, love it about her. I aimed my phone at this babe, and this babe hit one of those super sexual Instagram model poses, duck face and everything. It was a lot, it was unnecessary. Keep in mind, she was 15 or 16 at the time. I stopped the shoot immediately, and we had one of the most honest and critical conversations a big brother could ever have with his baby sister. Kosi, look, you are already beautiful. So beautiful you don't need to try. You don't need to pout and contort yourself to look good. You already got it. The lighting is amazing, and your big bro is a pro at getting good photos. I know your angles. Besides, your innocent beauty is already a large shining target for predatory men. If you sexualize yourself on top of that, you're basically holding up a huge neon sign saying, "Come and get me." Trust me, you don't want that. I get that your beauty is bursting your own brain, but make it so that your beauty is not the most remarkable thing about you. Okay? Oh yeah, let's try again. I could tell she was uncomfortable, but she listened. She knows her big bro cares, and big bro doesn't miss. She's also very well raised. But in order for her to really believe, she had to see. Round 2. This time, she posed like the 15-year-old she was. She gave me a big, bright lip-glossed smile. She showed off the large beauty spot on her cheek. I put her in poses that captured her innocence and her personality. Then I showed her the images. Kosi lit up. In that moment, she understood what I was saying. She saw the difference. Her essence captured on camera instead of an over-sexualized Instagram caricature. I told her, this is for you, not for likes. This is a version of you will always love, no matter how old you get. Whenever you see your pics, you will remember who you are. It was a day she and I will never forget. A moment that solidified our bond. I essentially saved her from a life of toxic narcissism, of being a slave to her own beauty. Like I said, beauty is intoxicating, not just to the beholder, but to the wielder, the owner. Kosi learned something that many women go their entire lives without ever realizing, which is that she's more than what she looks like, and she should keep that in mind always. That was 3 years ago. Today, she's the most confident, well-adjusted 18-year-old. I don't ever worry about her. The world is the way it is because we allow a lot of things go unsaid. There's so much we don't pay attention to. I wish more fathers and mothers, sisters and brothers had these conversations with the impressionable teenage girls in their lives, or at least found other ways to compliment or encourage or persuade their daughters without pointing out their physical beauty. It would save them so much pain and trouble in womanhood. If you're a woman listening, I'm sure you can remember when you first came to terms with your beauty. The attention, the thirst, the lust, the gift, and the curse that came with it. No one taught you how to deal. You were simply encouraged to bathe in the attention, to succumb to society's conventional, restrictive, and impossible expectations of beauty. So that, throughout your life, you're beholden to meaningless messages like,
Oh, look how beautiful she is at 30, at 40, at 50. Wow, oh my God, she's gorgeous, she's amazing.
age and time became the enemy. Physical perfection became the ambition. The gift became the curse, and your beauty became a beast. I sympathize. That is simply no way to live. So many women wish they could just be. They wish they could opt out, but they've also become accustomed to the perks, privileges, and pressure of pretty. The body is a temple. Everyone is familiar with those words. But I think this collection of stories and ideas captured the real weight behind them. The body is a semi-fragile vessel that contains flesh, blood, bone. It also contains all of our lived experiences. Every single thing you've ever lived, felt, experienced is stored in your body and brain. Your cells eavesdrop on your thoughts and translate those thoughts into energy. Could be positive energy, could be negative energy. And what this project has brought to the forefront is that the body is more special, more powerful, more nuanced than you could have ever imagined. It reminds us to be mindful of how we use it, to form healthier and deeper relationships with our bodies from top to bottom, head to toe, inside and out. As Da Vinci said, a sound mind in a sound body. That's the goal. And it leads to higher quality life experiences and an overall fulfilling life. So I recommend you find and read the books I highlighted and listen to the episode I teased. It's available right now, Beauty and the BS. It takes a look at the ugly side of physical beauty and offers a lot of insight into how that factors into the social issues we're facing today. There's so much information in that episode, I cannot wait for you to hear it. Your feedback is always welcome. There's so much information out there about being more mindful about your movement, posture, and diet, and how that can influence your mental and general health for the better. So don't sleep on all of this. Don't just listen and move on. Really start to look at your body and look at how you can make it work for you. With all of that said, thank you for listening. Thank you to everyone who attended, and thank you to the French Institut for their continued support. Twice, they believed in me and my ministry and put their money where my mouth is. I am forever grateful and I cannot thank them enough. More to come. Until next time, this is the Young God.
It's got talk. It's got talk.